Welcome to Building the Perfect Mind podcast, where we empower individuals from all walks of life to unlock their full potential. Join me on a transformative journey as we explore the intersection of neurology, personal development, and cognitive behavior. Together, we'll discover the inspiration, drive, enthusiasm, and ambition to help you achieve your goals and unleash your inner greatness. From enhancing focus on productivity to cultivating resilience and mental well-being, we'll dive into practical strategies and mindset shifts that foster personal growth and success. Get ready to upgrade your mind and unlock a brighter, more fulfilling future for yourself and the world. Hello there, and welcome back to Building the Perfect Mind podcast. If you recall, the last podcast episode was on protecting the peace, and many of us did not actually drop the reviews, which is fine. But then again, today's podcast is on a follow-up, which I mentioned, which is disruptors. Today's topic is disruptors, how to stay focused and unstoppable. Let me take you back to a moment we've all experienced. Let me just basically iterate mine. You sit down, ready to dive into that big project, that's one that could, really move the needle for you. Then, before you know it, you're 30 minutes deep into scrolling through Instagram, checking your email for the opt-in time, or cleaning your desk for the third time that day. Sound familiar? It's something I know all too well. I used to think these little disruptions were harmless, just a part of the modern workday, But then I realized something. These disruptors weren't just stealing my time. They were stealing my focus, my progress, and in many ways, my peace of mind. As I said in the previous podcast, in the quest to protect the peace or protect our peace, we should identify disruptors. And disruptors are obviously things that steal your focus and delay your progress. So disruptors are everywhere, just so we're clear. Disruptors are everywhere, left, right, center, they are there. And they come in many forms, many forms. Whether it's the constant ping of notifications, that nagging voice telling you you're not good enough, or even the urge to multitask. These disruptors derail our productivity. They sap our mental energy, and over time, they erode our well-being. So in today's episode, I would like for us to open our minds, be more pragmatic to receive what today's teaching is about. Today's sharing is on managing disruptors, how to be more focused and unstoppable. Yeah. So on today's podcast, we're diving deep into the world of disruptors. We'll explore what they are, how to identify your personal disruptors, and most importantly, I'll share strategies to help you stay focused and unstoppable. By the end of this episode, you'll have a toolkit, a guide that will help you take control of your day, your mind, and ultimately your life. So the segment 1 or category 1 is understanding disruptors. Understanding disruptors. In understanding disruptors, it's something that you doesn't wake up and understand. Many people are just hearing me say disruptors. Disruptors is spelled DISRUPTERS. Yeah. That's what disruptors is spelled as. And in essence, disruptors could be anything. It could be internal, it could be external. That things that basically throw you off course. So they are the little gremlins that derail your focus. If you know what a gremlin is, those tiny little creatures that are very annoying. So they're little gremlins that derail your focus. They pull you away from your goals and slow your progress. So let's think about it. Every time you get pulled into a digital rabbit hole or hesitate because of self-doubt, you're dealing with a disruptor. Every time you get pulled into a digital rabbit hole. Digital rabbit hole, yes, your phone, your screen. Yes, that is a digital rabbit hole. You're facing a disruptor. So you're dealing with a disruptor. So let's break it down with some common examples. As I iterated in the other podcast, I'll iterate again. Social media and digital distractions. These are disruptors. These are definitely disruptors. So in this, I would like to let us know that common examples. These are just basically common examples. So I'm going to give the most basic is the social media and digital distractions, which is basically, losing focus, getting lost. Have you ever found yourself lost in an endless scroll? Yes, I have. Yeah. But you're not alone, just so you know. You're not alone. And I'm not alone, I know that, yes. So this helps me now know fully well that social media usage could be a disruptor. The use or the poor use is a disruptor. So these platforms are designed to capture your attention and hold it often at the expense of your productivity. That's the design of most of the time the algorithms of the social media, their goal is to hold you. You will just be there scrolling. I call it doom scrolling. You'll be scrolling. That does something to you. Social media, the social media disruptor, is a cheap dopamine. It's a cheap dopamine that makes you feel good, makes you feel chill at the moment, makes you feel like everything is going right. That's cheap dopamine, making you feel somewhat elevated, but you're just there scrolling and wasting and whiling away time for over 1 hour, 2 hours, and all that. So that is one of the examples. Another example is basically procrastination and perfectionism. Perfectionism is a huge one at that. And fear not, you're not alone on that as well. The fear of not doing something perfectly can often lead to doing nothing at all, which is perhaps the most dangerous disruptor. When I wanted to start this podcast, people around were like, why are you doing this? You will not get much listeners. You will not get anything. And it's not really a good way to use your time. But somewhat this helps me become better because I reflect on these things whenever I share them and they help me. I'm not perfect at releasing a podcast. God knows I'm below even the average person that should make a podcast. But then again, I am not waiting to be a perfect person to be able to release a podcast. I am doing it as I go. So perfectionism is one of the sicknesses or illnesses, I would say, is a huge disruptor, if you ask me. Sometimes you might have a project you want to start, and be like, I don't have a template for it. Create the template, start the project. When you start the project at first, a project would actualize. Another example is negative self-talk and self-doubt. This also is somewhat of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. If you talk down yourself and if you don't believe in yourself, if you doubt yourself, you tend to be your own sabotage. You sabotage yourself. You delay yourself. You cause your own self to not do anything. The inner critic in you says, you're not ready, you're not good enough. That's the disruptor, disguised as self-preservation. No, self-preservation is good, but then again, we need to know the difference between self-preservation and self-sabotage. Another example is multitasking and context switching. So basically you're trying to juggle too many tasks all at once, and which makes you feel, oh, I'm productive, I'm making impact. But then again, it's actually a major productivity killer. Multitasking is what I define as finishing multiple tasks at different categories and at different levels and at different times. It's not all at once. Multitasking should not be done all at once. Another example which I would like for us to know is our normal pinging, which is the notification overload or email. So basically, constant pings and alerts create a sense of urgency that's hard to ignore, which messes a lot of things up, especially with the focus we're trying to develop. So all those ding, bing, bang, bang, bam, boom. All those things cause problems because they make you lose focus. They make you lose, practically yourself, because you're trying to think on something. You're having a thought, trying to process something, trying to begin a thing. Next minute you get a ping, you check your phone, and you lose that train of thought, and it's not helpful at all. It's not helpful at all. So we should understand that these are just common example of disruptors. So basically, if you allow these disruptors to dominate your life, it doesn't just slow you down, but it also kills your productivity. So it creates a ripple effect, if I may. It creates a ripple effect. So you might notice your productivity dropping, your stress levels rising, and even your relationship suffering. So it's not just about losing time, it's about losing momentum, clarity, and peace of mind. Segment 2 is identifying your own disruptors. Identifying your own disruptors. Now that we've defined what disruptors are, I believe it's time to get personal. Understanding your unique disruptors is crucial because they are often deeply intertwined with your habits, your mindset, and your environment. So take a moment to reflect. What derails you the most during your work or study sessions? Is it social media, endless to-do lists, or perhaps that small voice telling you to wait until conditions are perfect? What triggers your procrastination? Maybe it's fear of failure, or perhaps it's simply the, allure of easier tasks. And what about your negative thoughts? Do you often tell yourself, I'm never gonna get this done, or I'm not just good enough, or these thoughts can be just as disruptive as any external distraction? All these things are things that you should reflect on and ask yourself, what is my disruptor? What is my own disruptor? You should internalize this as much as possible. There are external disruptors and there are internal disruptors, but when we reflect and control the internal, I believe it's possible to control the external. So if you're not sure where to start, try keeping a disruption diary for a week. Write down every time you get pulled away from a task. Just write it down. Like you're about to start something. What distracted you from it? Was it someone calling you? Was it the sound of the car horn? Was it a ping of your phone? Was it that they took lights? Yes, we're in Nigeria. They usually take the light. So what are the disruptors? Pin them down, write them down. So, and then what are you doing? What caused the disruptions? Look for patterns. Identifying patterns helps a lot. If you identify patterns and you're able to control those patterns, you'll be able to control your life. So maybe you're most distracted when switching between tasks, or perhaps certain environments trigger your procrastination. So understanding these patterns is the first step in regaining control. And we will be right back. Segment 3, and the most important of them all, which is strategies. Strategies. Like I shared, we will be discussing the strategies for handling disruptors. Now that you've identified your disruptors after the reflection, let's talk about strategies to maintain them. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate distractions entirely. Life happens after all, yeah. But to build resilience against them, yes. Let's work towards building resilience against disruptors. So there are some practical tips which I will render. Number 1 is time blocking and scheduling. If you go back to my podcast episode, I think I shared one of them on the time management strategies, blah, 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 and all. Number 1 is time blocking and scheduling. Time blocking and scheduling. What is time blocking? This is basically giving each task its own designated or dedicated time slot, minimizing the temptation to switch gears. So for example, I set aside 10 to 2 a.m., 10 to 2 p.m., for deep work with no social media, Instagram, Facebook, or emails. Then I schedule a 15 minutes break to catch up on notifications. This is basically time blocking and scheduling, which programs a lot. So if you just set your timer, 1 hour for deep work, then 15 minutes for socials. Once 15 minutes is up, your alarm rings, you get back to your work. That is time blocking and scheduling. Number 2 of the strategies which I believe you should apply is setting clear boundaries. So you have to establish rules for your digital usage. You could designate certain times of the day for checking email or social. This still boils down to your use of social media, because that actually coils and steals most of our time. So You could designate certain times of the day for checking email or social media, or use tools like website blockers to keep you on task. For instance, consider a no social media before lunch rule or a no meeting Wednesday to protect your deep work time. Yeah, this helps. This helps. The third practical strategy is practicing mindfulness and self-compassion. So when negative thoughts creep in about, you're not being good enough and all that, you have to acknowledge and say, no, I am good enough. I can do this. I am disciplined. I am built for this. I can do this. You have to practice mindfulness techniques such as deep breathing. Yes, breathing helps. Breathing helps. Breathing helps. Or meditation to center yourself. So over time, this can help you manage stress and stay focused. So number 4, the last practical strategy is reframing negative thoughts. Reframing negative thoughts, which also helps with the self-compassion. It speaks to the same self-compassion, but reframing negative thoughts is basically challenging limiting beliefs by replacing them with empowering ones. So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, try, I'm learning and growing, is an affirmation I believe everyone should follow. My big sister always told me I should always listen to good affirmations and avoid negativity. Negativity in the sense of things that would not want me to become better, but would want to keep me down. So basically, affirming things like I'm learning and I'm growing, it helps shift the mindset drastically to reduce the power of internal disruptors. Yeah. So I believe that implementing these strategies might require some experimentation. For example, you might find that using a tool like Freedom or Cold Turkey to block distractors or distracting websites during focus hours works wonders. Yes, having those website blockers and all those things, they actually help. Or maybe a daily 10-minute mindfulness practice is what helps you reset and refocus when things get overwhelming. So the key is to find what works for you. Segment 4, and I believe, the last, is putting them into practice. I am not a motivational speaker. I'm not one who tries to, say what he cannot do. I'm not perfect in any way at all. Yes, I am still facing 1,000,001 disruptors, but I do handle myself effectively. That's why I said I made a podcast on managing ADHD. Managing ADHD, if you go back, you listen to it, is also somewhat of managing disruptors. So I believe that now that you're equipped with these strategies, it's time to put them into practice. I basically encourage you to commit to one strategy from today's episode. Just commit to one. I believe one of the easiest is the time blocking and scheduling, which I said. Or you could go into mindfulness and self-compassion, basically affirming things and saying the good things and, avoiding negative thoughts. I basically encourage you to commit to it. So whether it's all this I just mentioned, just practice them. So for those that are looking to dive deeper, there are plenty of resources available. Books like Deep Work by Cal Newport or Atomic Habits by James Clear offer powerful insights on focus and habit building. So online courses can also help you do that. So online courses on platforms like Coursera, Udemy, or Allison, all this can help. They help you develop time management and goal setting skills. And if you're looking to ongoing support, consider finding an accountability partner. I am blessed to be in a company, Copen Groups, which the mentor and the group managing director of the company, he did something that is phenomenal. He started up this learning and teaching machine project scheme, which enables us to develop ourselves and pursue self and personal development diligently and passionately. And it's encouraging each and every one of us to have an accountability partner. And that has been wonderful. So having an accountability partner to help you get over these disruptors is imperative. Or joining a community, still the same thing, where you can share your progress and stay motivated. So just to conclude this very brief podcast, yes, I would like to say one thing. Disruptors are those sneaky little forces that can derail our focus and progress. But by understanding them, identifying our personal disruptors, and applying effective strategies, we can take control. So remember, staying focused and unstoppable isn't about perfection at all. It's about progress. It's about doing. It's not only about thinking, but doing. It's about showing up every day, even if it's just one small step at a time. So here's my final thought. Building resilience against disruptors is a journey, not a destination. Start small, be consistent, and most importantly, celebrate your wins along the way. Every time you overcome a disruptor, you're not just saving time, you're reclaiming your life. So stay focused, stay strong, and stay high. Keep moving forward, and until the next time, keep striving for the best version of you. As we build the perfect mind, I would like for us to know that it's not a one-day thing, it's an everyday thing, an everyday effort, and the mindfulness approach to building that perfect mind, the mindful approach to starting and finishing well. Every step counts, every single step counts. So I believe that this is the end of today's podcast. And as I iterate on my podcast, do make it a point of duty to make someone's day, make someone smile, make someone happy, remind someone that it's possible to escape the disruptive lifestyle, to become the best version of themselves. Until the next podcast, guys, I remain your humble host, Hagen Ojukwu.